The verdict arrived in 1991, a clinical, sterile sentence delivered in a quiet room that would echo for decades. Michael J. Fox was 29 years old, the golden boy whose face was a national emblem of youthful ambition, and his own body had just declared a cold internal war. The diagnosis was Parkinson's, a degenerative future laid out like a coroner's report. For 7 years, this truth was buried, a state secret locked behind a perfect smile. While filming Spin City, the world saw a comedic genius. They did not see the left hand, perpetually shoved into a pocket, concealing a tremor that was the first tremor of a coming earthquake. The public persona was a fortress, but inside, the architect was crumbling. He later admitted the truth of that time. You're only as sick as your secrets. And his secret was metastasizing, watered with alcohol and fear. The laughter from the studio audience was a thick, soundproof wall, insulating the world from the silent panic of a man watching his own wiring fray. His success smelled of fresh box office receipts and the stale metallic tang of a hidden pill bottle. This was the first chapter in his anatomy of a fall. A fall not from grace, but from the simple, arrogant certainty of bodily control. One against his own degenerating cells, the other against the cold indifference of the system he must court for salvation. The money raised is clean. The machine it fuels is not. The wreckage of these boardroom decisions casts a long, cold shadow, a shadow that even $2 billion cannot entirely dispel. It is the ultimate tragic irony. The man who gave hope a face is forced to watch as the business of hope devours its own. Inventory of Sins Entry, 1985, the year the machine began to break. Michael J. Fox did not live a life. He mainlined it. 2 careers simultaneously. A dual existence that bled the days into nights. By day, the polished conservative wit of Alex P. Keaton for Family Ties. By night, the frantic, time-shattering energy of Marti Macflaya. The schedule was not a plan. It was a sentence. 20-hour days, 6 days a week. Sleep was a rumor, a luxury afforded to lesser men. His success smelled of fresh film stock and the stale coffee that fueled the meat grinder of fame. He was a boy wonder running on ambition and borrowed time, a biological account being rapidly, irrevocably overdrawn. The industry saw a star being forged in the crucible of relentless work. A more forensic eye sees the first hairline fractures appearing in the chassis. The tremors were not yet visible to the camera, but the body keeps a perfect, unforgiving ledger. Every laugh track on the sitcom, every screech of the DeLorean's tires, was a down payment on a future diagnosis. The public saw a kid who had it all. The truth was colder. He was spending his physical future to pay for his professional present. Pause. A fatal transaction. The public confession is its own kind of prison. In 1998, the 7-year secret was finally exhumed. The tremors he hid in his pockets on Spin City were now national news. A private agony became public property. He spoke the line himself in his 2023 post-mortem audit. Still, you're only as sick as your secrets. But exercising the secret did not bring freedom. It brought a new role. He was no longer just an actor. He was the poster child for a neurological rebellion. The Michael J. Fox Foundation, founded in the year 2000, was not just a charity. It was a new empire built from the wreckage of the old, a corporate machine fueled by hope and armed with over $2 billion. A bitter testament. The man who could charm millions now had to sell them a cure for his own slow-motion collapse. The return to acting in 2026 for Shrinking is the final, perfect irony, a role written to accommodate his realities and challenges. It is not a comeback. It is a surrender, elegantly framed as a victory. The industry that once demanded his physical perfection now markets his brokenness. The circle closes. The sentence is complete. Michael J. Fox requires a wheelchair more frequently, a simple fact, a logistical update for the public record. But in the archive, it is the final grim entry in a long-closed account. An account opened in the inferno of 1985. His memoir, titled With Brutal Irony, Future Boy, serves as the primary document for this post-mortem audit. It is not a story of triumph. It is an inventory of sins against the self. The book details a schedule that defies modern labor laws, a human sacrifice on the altar of Hollywood. 20-hour days, 6 days a week. Filming a hit sitcom under hot lights, then driving himself to film a blockbuster by night. The public saw ambition, a tireless work ethic. The ledger recorded something else, a fatal expenditure of physical capital. He was a blur of motion, a kinetic prodigy on a skateboard, a human dynamo burning fuel he did not know was finite. The success smelled of fresh film stock and the stale metallic tang of exhaustion. It was a deal made in the dark, with the fine print written in his own nervous system. The diagnosis came in 1991, at age 29, just 6 years after he rode that hoverboard into cinematic history. The tremors were not a random act of biological cruelty. They were the bill arriving with cold, bureaucratic punctuality. The debt was incurred in the frantic sprint of 1985. The collection began in the quiet terror of a doctor's office in 1991. The payments are for life. The future boy paid for his trip with the currency of his own future. The Michael J. Fox Foundation has raised over $2 billion, a staggering figure, a monument of hope built on a bedrock of public goodwill and relentless fundraising. But the most powerful weapon in the Fox arsenal is not the money. It is the optimism, a carefully calibrated, weaponized optimism that functions as the ultimate act of narrative control. It is not a feeling. It is a strategy, a shield against the corrosive acid of pity, a tool to command rooms and open wallets from Wall Street to Washington. The return to acting in the series Shrinking is the final exhibit in this case study of absolute control. This is not a comeback. It is a coronation of his new role. He is no longer the actor hiding a tremor in his pocket on the set of Spin City. He is the showrunner of his own affliction. The disease is now written into the script, given blocking, motivated. He has turned the very symptoms of his own decay into a performance asset, billing the tremor as a co-star. It is the ultimate inversion, the prisoner forging a key from the very bars of his own cell. His 2023 statement, "You're only as sick as your secrets," was the thesis. The public disclosure in 1998 was the first act. This final performance is the epilogue. Pause. It is a final chilling act of authorship over a body that has betrayed him. A man forcing the world to see not a victim, but the architect of his own magnificent and terrible ruin. Buy a cure, buy time, pause. But in the cold calculus of modern medicine, hope is a currency that must be exchanged. And the brokers of that exchange operate from glass towers, their decisions guided by algorithms, not empathy. They don't see patients. They see market segments Enter the partners, names like Takeda, pharmaceutical titans who pledge allegiance to the cause, their logos gleaming next to Fox's on press releases. A handshake across the aisle of human suffering. It looks like an alliance. It feels like progress, a sacred pact. But this is not a story of heroes. This is a posthumous audit of a living dream. The fine print on the contract of hope is written in the language of quarterly reports. While the foundation channels the goodwill of millions into the hunt for a breakthrough, the corporate partner is reading a different document, a market analysis, a forecast of patent expirations, a balance sheet where a division dedicated to neurological disease is just another line item, its value measured against the potential of the next blockbuster weight loss drug. The most valuable asset is not the patient, but the patent. The most pressing deadline is not a cure, but the end of a fiscal quarter. The decision, when it comes, is not delivered in a hushed hospital corridor. It is not a tragedy. It is a strategy. It arrives in an internal memo, sanitized with corporate jargon. A brutal, commercial restructuring, optimizing resource allocation. The neuroscience teams, the very infantry in this declared war on Parkinson's, are slashed. Hundreds of researchers, their life's work dedicated to untangling the knots in the human brain, are rendered destitute overnight. Their access cards stop working. Their projects, years of painstaking work, are liquidated. The future they were building is sold for parts to the highest bidder. This is not malice. It is something colder, more efficient. Pause. It is business. The gears of the machine turning, grinding hope into dust because the market demanded it. And so, the great paradox is laid bare on the cold marble floor of the corporate lobby. The foundation, a monument to one man's fight, becomes an unwitting investor in its own potential obsolescence. It pours money into a pipeline that a corporate board can shut down with a single vote, a pipeline that terminates not in a cure, but in a severance package. The hope it sells to the public is subject to market forces as volatile and uncaring as a winter storm. Michael J. Fox's enduring optimism, his most powerful weapon, becomes the face of a product. Its value is contingent on quarterly earnings and shareholder confidence. The fight for a cure continues, yes, but it is now waged in the shadow of the abacus, where the cost of a human life is weighed against the price of a stock. The verdict is rarely in our favor. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. The inheritance of this crusade is therefore split, a bitter testament to a flawed system. On one side, a legacy of defiance and billions in mobilized hope, a testament to what humanity can achieve when rallied. Tень, on the other, a portfolio of precarious alliances and the cold, hard truth that the hand that feeds can also be the one that signs the termination papers. The cure may one day be found, but the ledger shows it will arrive not when it is most needed, but when it is most profitable. It is the ultimate bitter pill, coated in the thin, sweet sugar of a beloved star's smile, a smile that sold the world on hope while the market was busy shorting it.